Well, the day has arrived. Only Ontario Knife Company could make a knife like the RAT Model 6. Its profile screams perfect midweight survival knife.
Let's see what the lateral strength is. Oh my gosh, look at that.
Hewn out of a chunk of S35 VN steel.
Man, this has such a nice edge on it, I hate to ruin it. I mean, it is all rolled, mangled. So let's see how it field sharpens.
Made right here in America and somehow coming in at just over 150 bucks. But today we got to discover, can the RAT-6 stay true to itself, offering toughness and value while overcoming the tendency of Ontario's tools to be rough around the edges? And we'll discover at the end of the video if it can carve out a place for itself amongst its more refined American-made brethren that also sport S35 VN. Well, Getty's Tactical family, I know there's a lot of anticipation around this blade, and I know a lot of you are interested in what this tool can do, and we're gonna really put it through the ringer today.
Split up some wood, kick things off. So here's a prime example of why you would baton. Obviously collecting twigs most of the time and dry dead material will always benefit, but I mean, we had freezing rain and then snow, I mean almost a foot, and it has impacted the wood and it needs to dry out. So I got to split it up, then let it air out to help it better fuel, but also start the fire.
And it's really surprising how they can make this size of tool with this steel in America at that price point. Part of it is quality control and fit and finish. My experience has often been all over the place. Sometimes you get a really good model that seems to be overall pretty well done, and in this case on the RAT-6, great edge geometry, good relief edge, good grinding, decent plunge lines, and the handle scales for the most part match up. There's a little bit of a lip here and there, but that's kind of to be expected with Ontario. They're not perfectly flush like, say, a lot of other brands that are out there. But I also wanted to test out a RAT-5 with their new 1075 makeup that they're doing. They used to do 1095. So I ordered one, and the plunge line is atrocious. It's about 1/4 of an inch off on one side. I've handled hundreds of fixed blades from just about every company. I've never seen one as bad as this. For the rest of the tool, it seems to be fine. Even the edge itself is pretty good, but that back there is just so bad. So I immediately ordered a second one. That one is fine, that we'll be using a little bit later when I do some edge tests, but that's just something to kind of be aware of, and that's what you are getting into, and some of the sacrifice of getting such a cheap blade with such, if you will, high-end S35 VN made in America materials. But it would be awesome to see them really step up that quality control in 2023. All right, so some basic information on the blade is that it comes in at about 11.5 ounces naked, and then just under a pound with the sheath. So that's perfect midweight survival knife weight class, survival knife weight class. That's what I look for. Right around that, like 11 to 12 ounces is like ideal, very competitive with Becker BK7s, RAT-7s, and the SE6, which is kind of like in that family. Now, interesting note, handle to tip is 6.5 inches, cutting edge is 5.5 inches. So you are gonna have about 1 inch of a choil. So it's a very large choil that we'll talk about in ergonomics a little bit later. It's gonna be 3/16 of an inch thick on a full tang with a full flat grind. Now, what about these handle scales? How are the ergonomics?
Nice, really happy with that. Okay, so making that fuzz stick with the choil, not really creating a hot spot, maybe just a little bit in my webbing right around here where the scale connects, but nothing, that I'd be like, oh, I can't use this. It's fine. So I'm gonna back up and not use the choil and see if I see any difference. Not too bad. I'm definitely feeling it a little bit up here on my knuckle, just because it's pretty squared off right there. All right, I'm feeling a little bit now. When I get off the choil and I'm doing a feather stick, I can feel it fatiguing my hand. That feels better because I'm alleviating some of that pressure right there. I mean, the edge is amazing. The blade for carving and making fuzz sticks is awesome.
Now, if you're familiar with the RAT series, there's nothing new here. Here's the RAT Model 5. These are the exact same handle scales. So my conclusion is mainly, if you're choked up on the choil, you can go forever and you don't really even notice the squared offness of the handle scale on the RAT-6. But if you back up and not engage the choil and then do long push cuts, I did get a hot spot right there on the internal webbing of my thumb and on that bone knuckle portion right there. I did begin to feel it and it did become uncomfortable. Knives like the SE6 that are more contoured and rounded in that area, slimmed down slightly, will feel more comfortable when you back up off the choil. And don't forget to subscribe if you're not yet a subscriber. Smash that like button and make sure to hit the bell icon so that you can be notified every week when I post up new content, giving you breakdowns on new gear and equipment and how they perform for you and me, the user.
All right, so I got some of those major feather sticks all piled up, ready to go, lean-to kind of style. And then we got these shavings ready to go. There we go. Yeah. Can you stay lit? Stay lit. Yes. Wow, that was fast. Sweet. Wow, that was a lot quicker than I thought. Good 90-degree spine on that uncoated blade. Let's fashion 2 tent pegs and get that notch first that would grab the paracord or your rope from your tent. Gosh, that edge is just, it's good, guys. It's really good. I've definitely had hit or miss edges before with Ontario, but this factory edge is freaking excellent. Zero complaints with that. That was so easy. Get that notch. Swing. There you go. Man, that was cake.
S35VN I think is a great choice for a large midweight survival knife if you're wanting to go into the more stainless steel arena for a couple of reasons. It's the evolution of S30V, meaning that it's tougher and less prone to chipping, but easier to resharpen than S30V.
Man, this has such a nice edge on it. I hate to ruin it, but I want to see how easy it is to resharpen. So I'm going to pound on this a little bit and damage it some. I hate to see it, and I hate to do it to a knife. You can just see there. I mean, it is all rolled, mangled. All right, trusty old work sharp. Let's see what it does. All right, I had to cut away. That was 15 minutes of elbow grease. I did it all with my work sharp pocket sharpener to get all those Mars out. I should have done it just to show the paper ahead of time, but we're gonna do it now. I think I got them all out. Looks a lot better. There you go. Now here's a brand new, never used RAT Model 5, 1075 steel, Rockwell 57 to 59, exact same piece of concrete. You actually see the marks from the RAT-6. So we're just gonna see how this high carbon kind of handles in comparison. Pretty similar actually to what the S35VN did in the sense of, you know, chipping and some damage to the edge. Probably a little worse on the S35VN. Let's see how much faster it is. Yeah. So it took me at least 15 minutes to repair the RAT-6, and it took me 7 to do the high carbon 1075. So what that would tell us is that damage will probably be a little more catastrophic if you were to have some sort of damage like this on the stainless, you know, in the S35VN, and it'll take a little bit longer to repair over high carbon, but that's kind of what we expected.
Only thing that it's really sacrificing is mainly the edge retention. S30V tends to have a better edge retention a little bit than S35VN when you do like edge tests, basically. It is very rust resistant, on par with LMAX and just slightly below M390. So it's a great family of corrosion resistance to be in.
So we're gonna leave this overnight in this snowbank right here. So we can go straight in, stick it in there. We'll let it spend the night there. All right, next morning. Nice. Ooh, look at that, all nice and frozen. I'll let it thaw out, but initially I'm not seeing any rust at all.
I have zero staining now. This is after the fact. Zero staining, zero, spots, anything like that, and very fighting off the corrosion very well. And that is one of the main selling points with this tool, is that it is uncoated, which I know a lot of people do like. They don't like the gunky, coatings that you get a lot on high carbons to fight against the rust, and the fact that it will just operate better and require less maintenance in high humid or even saltwater environments. Now, S35VN has a recommended Rockwell of 58 to 61. That's what's recommended for it. Ontario says they're doing 58 to 60. So I think that's perfect for a large midweight survival knife like this. That's going to be doing a lot of hard, tough tasks, going through a lot of abuse.
Let's see what the lateral strength is. Oh my gosh, look at that. Look at how much that's spending. Oh, oh man, look at that thing bend. Oh. Nice, right back into place.
Oh man, that's deep. Nice. Yeah. Whew, dig that. And I was doing some pretty good side-to-side cranking. Now I'm not going to go full. That's what a pry bar is for. But for general stabbing and some side-to-side lateral, I'm very pleased with how the heat treat and the toughness of the S35VN is holding up that Ontario is using and doing with this model.
Now, I'm by no means anti-chopping with knives, and I feel part of the reason you would be carrying a midweight survival knife like this is that in a pinch, you could easily delimb branches, knock off stuff the size of your thumb in diameter, and in a pinch be able to fall some saplings that are, say, the diameter of your wrist to forearm, so that you could begin to create a lean-to or get a fire going. I chopped with this just because of the weight balance and the full flat grind. It just wasn't enjoyable to chop. It was quite exerting. A blade that is a little bit more front heavy with a saber grind would just bite into the wood better and produce a little bit deeper chops quicker. It could absolutely do that in a pinch, but I would immediately basically chop down one branch thick enough and big enough to be my batoning stick, and then I would immediately start side splitting wood and falling trees that way by pounding on the back spine. Now, the knife, I believe, is absolutely strong enough to handle that type of shock on the back spine for repeated strikes to be able to fall saplings and build a shelter or get a fire going. So that's how I would use it in most either camping, bushcraft, or survival scenarios. Now, how about transporting the blade? The sheath is ballistic nylon. When it comes to my preferences, I prefer Kydex, then leather, and then if I have to, nylon. So not ideal of the choices that I prefer, but for a nylon sheath, it's pretty well designed. What we have is a pretty quiet, pretty snug layout. It is jump ready, so it has a strap that is ambidextrous right here over the guard, has a secondary strap up here, and then it does have two eyelets that you can run paracord through and do a third cinch, so it could be jump ready. And this strap will swivel back and forth, so you can absolutely just flip the blade, so completely ambidextrous. Molly on the back, and then a nice large belt loop, and then eyelets down below for a leg lashing if necessary. I didn't really see that as a necessity. So you can absolutely run it upside down. The snaps are pretty strong for my particular model, and then it's got a good polymer insert of some kind. Now, what about the competition? Can this really carve out a place for itself? Now, as I stated earlier, just over $150. It's about $165. That's what I paid for it over on Blade HQ. I will have hyperlinks to all the distributors that I regularly partner with. So if this knife or other blades or just purchases in general, when it does come time to purchase a gear item, if you use those hyperlinks, I really appreciate it. It's free for you. Helps me to continue to create content just like this. So those will be in that description box below. Now, what that means is this is the largest American-made S35VN knife at the cheapest price currently in early 2023. Now, that alone is pretty impressive and a statement in itself, but we definitely have to consider tools like the SOG Pillar, made in America, S35VN, about 180 to 190, Kydex sheath, more attention to detail, better ergonomics, more contoured, those type of things, but still, full tank construction, bolted on handle scales, Kydex sheath, those type of attributes for $20 to $40 more, give or take, you know, there's definitely something to be said for that. And if you are looking for this knife to be more of something that you're maybe going to use on an LBE system for deployment, military use, law enforcement, a go bag, or light duty hiking and camping, then, you know, there's definitely something to be said about the SOG pillar. Then on the flip side, we got knives like the Buck 119 Plus S35 yen, American made, about the same cutting edge, wicked hollow grind. I mean, just an insane slicer. It's going to have a stick tang with micarta handle scales and a guard. Definitely more set up as a camping hunting knife, and if you tend to lean more towards taking a small hatchet or axe with you to do all of your heavy duty wood processing, and you don't really baton with your knives at all, and that's not something you expect out of your tools, then the finesse, the rounded ergonomics, and the precision of cutting will definitely outperform the brute force that the RAT-6 offers. And this one floats between like $190 and $200 on average. But if you are the one tool option guy, that's who you are, that's what you're looking for, and you're tired of maintaining the blades like high carbon steels require, particularly in more humid environments, and you're just tired of tuning up your edge constantly, and you want better edge retention out of a knife of that requirement, of that niche that you're looking for, well, for the price, there's not really anything that I've seen as capable as the RAT-6, and definitely, I believe, has hewn out a place for itself in between knives, say like the SOG pillar and the Buck 119, and able to do it at a cheaper price. So that's my take, guys. I look forward to hearing your thoughts on the RAT-6. Leave a comment below, particularly if you own one, what's been your experience. I always appreciate comments from you guys and questions that you may have. I'll do my best to answer them. I invite you to, again, subscribe if you haven't yet and check out the other video popping up. And until next time, always remember, stay equipped, stay prepared, and I'll see you out there.